Okay. Hello, everybody, and thank you, Marco. So, by way of quick introduction, I'm managing partner of DST Global. We are an internet and technology investment firm investing across the globe, from China through Europe, Africa, Latin America, and the US. I'm very pleased to be on stage with Hayden.
Hi, Tom. Thanks. Yep, my name's Hayden Wood. I am the co-founder and CEO of Bulb.
So, maybe we start very quickly with one-liner of what Bulb is.
Bulb is a renewable energy supplier. We're based in the UK. We supply 850,000 homes with energy. The thing that makes us different from the other energy suppliers is we're able to do that with a much, much smaller staff, so about 10 to 15 times fewer people than our competitors need to do. And the way we're able to do that is because we use technology. We are a tech company in a different way to other energy companies.
So when we led your recent round, which is about $100 million in size, we obviously really liked you and the team and the market size, but also the sheer scale. So maybe translate for us, what does 800,000 homes mean in terms of turnover and scale of the business? And then also, let's talk a little bit about how fast you're growing within the UK market.
Well, there's 28 million homes in the UK, so that puts our market share at about, what, 3 percentage points. The annualized revenue we get from our customers now is in excess of £950 million a year. And the rate at which we're growing, so we're growing at a rate of about 1 million new homes a year. So yeah, at that pace, we expect to become one of the largest energy suppliers in the UK over the next 3 to 4 years.
And I think what's pretty interesting about that growth as well is the percentage of all new switches. When people switch homes or switch suppliers, I think you're taking it 15 to 25% of homes in any 1 month, right?
Yeah, it varies month by month, but over the last 6 months, we've won about 1 in 5 of all of the people that are switching.
So the reason, or one of the reasons I invested was I actually switched my own household to Bulb, and you saved me on my bills about 25%. And I assumed that was because you were subsidizing, because I do too many investments in China, and everybody in China subsidizes to win market share. But actually, when we dug into the data, that wasn't the case. And there's this huge structural advantage that you were producing because you had about 9 to 10 times less people than the incumbents. How are you doing that? How are you doing things with 9 times less people per customer than a British Gas or any of the existing businesses?
Yeah, well, my co-founder and I, Amit, worked in the energy industry before in different roles. So I used to be a strategy consultant. I did project with. I'm
not sure we're allowed to admit that you were a consultant.
Yeah, exactly. Sort of keep it a secret. With one of the big suppliers, and we were shocked at the technology that was being used in the industry at that time. So, in a way, I sort of have a lot of respect for it because it's like 30 years old, and it's kind of beautiful to see how people put things together back then in these sort of original internet days. But the problem is that it's just not as good as what you can use today. So we just started an energy supplier with a completely blank sheet of paper. We worked out what type of relationship we wanted to have with customers. We wanted our customers to be able to self-serve a lot more, so we built best-in-class mobile apps and websites that allowed them to do that. That obviously massively reduces the amount of contact that those members give you. The other thing that we found was a big opportunity for improvement was to give your member support team, which is often quite a sizable part of operating costs for energy suppliers, to give them like world-class tooling to help them massively increase the speed at which they're able to do their jobs. That means, I don't know, using machine learning to analyze the types of questions that are coming in from customers and then pre-populate responses for those agents to give customers with a one-click reply as opposed to having to like write out bespoke messages. And then finally, there's a whole load of operational tasks that an energy supplier needs to do around wholesale energy trading, processing meter readings that come in from customers when you're trying to work out how much energy some of your members have used. And again, there's just a huge potential for automation in those tasks. And that's what we do at Bulb. So whenever anything is done manually, we just investigate whether it's possible to do that in an automated way. And after, how long have we been going now? 3 years, we've been able to automate a lot of things.
Now, you touched a little bit there about using technology on the kind of you call them member service executives, but customer service reps a little bit. And so that leads us to talk a little bit about customer service. So your NPS score is, first of all, positive, which is unusual in your industry, but also substantially positive and up there at times with the likes of Apple, et cetera. Yet, one of the things you're doing to generate that is actually looking to help people reduce their energy, i.e. reduce how much they pay you. Maybe talk a little bit about, first of all, how you're helping people save energy, and then we'll talk a little later on as to why that's a good thing for Bulb to actually have less revenues per customer.
Yeah, I mean, we make money from selling electricity and gas to our members, so it's a little perverse, or maybe not immediately obvious why we would want our members to be buying less of this stuff from us. Because it's directly correlated to our revenue. But we have a really strong belief that if we deliver a good service for our members, they are going to be much more likely to refer us to their friends and family. It's going to help with growth. They're much more likely to stay with us, so we'll have significantly lower churn. And we think that if we create value for our members by helping them reduce their usage, then we will share some of that value with them. And so our mission as a company is to help our members reduce their bills and reduce their carbon emissions. And we've done a lot to make progress on that mission. One of the things we did this summer, which was quite exciting, is we ran a trial with our members where we basically built an app and gave it to a small group of them, which would turn their energy usage into a bit of a game. So the price of electricity goes up and down through the day. When there's a peak in demand, it's much more expensive to generate it. We have to turn on old, dirty power stations in order to meet that higher demand, and that's more expensive to do. And so we sort of shared that difference in price through this game with our members in this experiment, and they were able to reduce their energy usage during these peak times by 30%, which translates into about £100 saving per year for those members. This is an experiment that we're going to be incorporating into our core products over the next few months, and it's just one example of one of the ways we want to sort of deliver additional value to our members.
And you mentioned there on churn, it might just be worthwhile sharing with the audience, if I got these numbers right, you're at about a 2 or 3% annualized churn rate.
Yeah.
And the industry on average is at around 20 to 30%.
Yeah, 30%. 30% for challengers like Bulb who've come into a market and won their customers. There's some incumbents who have a group of customers in their base who have never ever switched, which is quite a good position for them to be in. But for challengers like us, the average is about 30. So we're about 10 times lower on that.
Now, I want to talk about kind of the 5-year vision in 1 second, but before we do that, I think what's really interesting as well is that as we move into a world whereby each home, each household will both consume electricity but also pay it back into the grid. One of the most interesting stats we were talking about backstage was you already have 50,000 EV owners who are clients of yours or customers of yours. And we were talking that when you get to 300,000 EV owners, which will be pretty shortly in your network, you'll have the largest power station globally amongst your customers. Maybe just talk for 10 seconds, 15 seconds about what that means.
10 seconds? God, that's tricky. So the really exciting thing about energy is that it's changing. So it used to be that electricity was generated in large power stations by burning fossil fuels, and then it was just shipped in one direction over the grid. And now that's no longer the cheapest, most efficient way of generating electricity. You can use renewables, and that energy can go over to those homes. But that renewable energy can be in people's home. They could have solar panels on their roof, or there could be a battery installed in the home so that the home can take energy off the grid when it's cheap and then feed it back onto the grid when it's expensive. And that system means that the home is going to completely change its role within the energy network. So instead of it just being this sort of node that receives electricity, it will become a node that both receives and transmits energy into the grid. We think that creates quite a lot of complexity for consumers, and we think that Bulb's role is going to be to simplify that complexity and help them manage that energy usage. One of the ways we can do that, this is way beyond 10 seconds, sorry Tom. One of the ways we can do that is with EV owners. We think that what we'll be able to do is almost completely eliminate the cost of driving your EV by utilizing the car battery.
So you can charge your EV for free?
You can charge and drive your EV for free. Marco's coming over to tell me to shut up. And the way you can do that is you can use that battery to both power the home. So instead of the home having to draw electricity from the grid when it's really expensive, you can draw it from the car. And then you can also sell an additional service on top of that where the car can then provide power into the grid. And we think, to mention your point about scale, we think it's very, very important to collect these car batteries into large numbers, because when you have those large numbers, you can begin to do some very meaningful things for the grid.
Okay, so last one is, I have a view of where you'll be in 5 years, but what do you think Bulb is in terms of scale and in terms of what it's providing to the consumer in 5 years?
So in 5 years, we will be substantially larger. We will be, what I hope, the biggest supplier of energy in the UK. I think that there are many other countries around the world where that energy market needs to be disrupted, and a new player needs to come in and help people reduce their bills and give them better service. So there's the international piece. And then I think that the final piece is this energy management. I think that the relationship that we have with our members then will be a much deeper one, where we're helping them use electricity and store it and generate it in the most efficient way.
Okay, well, thank you all for listening, and I guess we better leave it. Thank you.